It's a special Boxing Day edition of Speaking of Strong Style, and we're glad you're here with us. The Christmas Korakuens have come and gone, and they provided some news and new twists on matches that were scheduled for Wrestle Kingdom. We also now have a match even more chaotic than it was going to be before, a little more heat on a retirement angle, and we got the wonderful news that El Phantasmo is ready to come back. We're going to talk about all these changes to the Dome card and the rest of the card as well here on this show. We may even have some special guests here a little bit later that we're looking forward to. So we're almost to Wrestle Kingdom. It's coming up very, very quickly. Everything in ring has already been done, but we keep getting news as it goes on. So with all that in mind, with Jeremy Finestone, I'm Stephen Conway. This is Speaking of Strong Style. Welcome back to Speaking of Strong Style, where we discuss the news, issues, and events surrounding New Japan Pro Wrestling. I'm Stephen Conway. With me is Jeremy. He is coming to us from a very nice location out there. Jeremy, you got some nice scenery at Christmas time for you.
I am in the birthplace of my mother in Indio, California, in her fancy palatial estate outside a golf course. And I thought, if I can't podcast in the dead-ass middle of winter on a sunny day in Southern California, you're really not living. Here we are.
Here we are. Colin is here with us. Good to see you, Colin. We have Dunstan with some questions that we're going to tackle as we go on throughout the show. So thanks to everybody who's joined us.
Stephen, really quick.
Yes.
Did you have a Merry Christmas?
Yeah, I had a good Christmas. I did have a good Christmas. Spent time with some family and some friends, and I really enjoyed it. It was a nice day. Ate a lot. Man, did I eat a lot. So I'm still recovering from that a little bit. But yeah, it was a nice holiday. How was yours?
It was great. 3 dogs, a sister, a mother and a father, a wife. We did a Christmas Eve party, did the whole deal. In bed by 8 yesterday. No children around. They got nieces and nephews, but they weren't here. It was It was lovely. But now we got to look forward to the Tokyo Dome.
And happy Hanukkah also to everybody else.
Oh yeah, it's happy Hanukkah. Kwanzaa as well.
That has landed as well. So there you go.
Kwanzaa is today, apparently.
Okay. Well, there's something for everybody this time of year. It's always so busy. All right, so we had the Christmas Korakuen Hall shows, and they weren't bad, really. One thing was, we'll get to all that, but we did have some news coming out of it, and they did affect the Wrestle Kingdom card, so they were consequential shows. And Brad's here too. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah. Yeah, you too. I'm glad you're here. And so let's start off with the biggest news of all, really, which is we had the fantastic news that El Phantasmo is ready to come back into action. So after Ren Narita did something particularly jerkish with House of Torture, Santa Claus came out, and it was Jado Claus, as it turns out. Jado came out in the Santa outfit and presented Ren Narita with a present. He opened it up, and it turned out to be a pair of light-up glasses, and then ELP's music played, and there he was. So El Phantasmo back in, and he is back for the TV title match, which was set to be a 3-way with Jeff Cobb, Ryohei Oiwa, and Ren Narita. It is now going to be a 4-way. And there are a lot of times they put multi-person matches to get everybody on the card, Jeremy. It's very possible this was the original idea in the first place. Whether it is or it isn't, adding El Phantasmo in to the 4-way. Oh, goodness, yes. Yeah, great news. I'm thrilled he's back.
Sure, let's do it.
His talent is going to add to the card, and it'll make this match better. So just good news all around for me that he's back and ready to go.
The minute that it became more than a one-on-one match, and they brought El Phantasmo in, I was like, you know what? Sure, great. Let's just make a party out of this title, and that is going to be actually a tremendous match. And I loved the reaction that he got from the crowd. I love the way that they brought him back in. And I think there was a backstage segment where he implied what his cancer was. And thank you. I got it at the show. And Brad loves the Blacksmith New Japan kit that I'm wearing. And I got it at the San Jose CMLL Fantastica Mania show. And I do not regret the purchase at all. But what was I saying? El Phantasmo coming back. He implied it was testicular cancer in a backstage segment. Okay. He said, I lost a ball in the war, and I wasn't sure if it was talking about a crotch shot he took against Ren Narita or it was something more personal in that. But I was like, because there was really no indication of anything that you could see on his upper body that anything had happened. So happy to know that he is healthy and back in New Japan. And he has a bright future with the New Japan roster right now, frankly speaking.
You can do anything you want with that TV title. Seriously. Mm-hmm. It's a title that you can get creative with. They put it on Zack for a year to establish it. But since then, it's moved around a little bit. Ren is a good heel champion for it in that, you have only 10 minutes and you got all the House of Torture obstacles to overcome. But if they wanted to just do the feel-good story and put this thing on El Phantasmo coming back, I don't think anybody would complain about it. But really, any of these four guys are good contenders for the TV title. Jeff Cobb presents a very certain challenge, just this beast that you have to somehow defeat within 10 minutes. You have all the interference, like I said, from House of Torture. For Ryohei Oiwa, it could be a way of establishing his resume a little bit, but there's no way to really go wrong with the TV title here, and having El Phantasmo back with it could be a nice little boost for him coming off and get the feel-good story down.
I wouldn't be surprised if Ren retained. There's a lot of momentum for him to retain, building up to the Tanahashi and Evil match right beforehand. So if Ren were to retain, there might be that energy that Evil might actually retire him, and could be a little 1-2 punch in the story there. I'd have to double check the match listing of how they got it, but it's just going to be a showcase for Oiwa to be that babyface powerhouse of Jeff Cobb, and then the aerial maneuvers of ELP. It is phantasmic news that he is back, and I'm here for it, man. I'm here for it.
And Brad mentions, normally I'd hate a guy inserting himself into a 3-way, making it a 4-way, but with ELP beating cancer, I'm okay with it. So,
absolutely, right? You're just like, there are exceptions to every rule. And this one is I think that's the exception.
I think this one works out pretty well. So, like I said, plenty of news. Now, we saw the King of Pro Wrestling title defended by Great-O-Khan against Taichi. And as we've probably heard, the King of Pro Wrestling title was retired after this one. Mm-hmm. And if this is indeed the end of the KOPW title, it went out on about as low a note as you could get. The match was absolutely horrendous. But Taichi and Great-O-Khan stunk it out on the first night of Korakuen Hall right there. And these are two guys I like. But my goodness, this was rotten. There was seriously, of this match, that was probably the last 2 minutes of it where it kind of came down to that New Japan main event, hitting big moves and trying big moves, stuff that actually worked. But the rest of it was a slog. And they have decided, Great-O-Khan has decided that it all went to a bad double knockout. He and Taichi had a double knockout. Neither one of them made it up for the 10 count in the last man standing part of the match. And they had done a sumo match earlier that wasn't good. And they did somehow an even worse thing with Kanemaru as a special referee. And so we suffered through all that. And then at the end, Great-O-Khan got on the microphone and said that he is retiring the KOPW title, to which I thought, oh, thank God. And then he said that instead, the Rambo, which the last couple of years has been about the KOPW title, will now be for a shot at the World Heavyweight Championship. So that puts a little extra steam on that. I mean, even in the early days of the Rambo, they really didn't do that. Say that, you win the Rambo, you get a world title. Mm-hmm. The Rambo is mostly for the younger guys, some legends coming back. I mean, they brought out the great Kabuki when he was like 75 or something like that for this thing. So they're taking this one a little bit more seriously. To me, Jeremy, I think this move is, for one thing, I don't think they really ever figured out what they wanted to do with the KOPW title. I think it was always kind of lost in the woods a little bit, and they would come up with these weird stipulations and all that, and some of them were good.
Remember how the KOPW started?
Yeah, it was Okada's idea, and then he didn't even win the thing. Yano did, which immediately set it up as kind of this silly thing on the show. So it was immediately associated with silliness, and it just never really took hold.
We all kind of forgot, don't let Okada book shit.
Well, yeah, I guess there's a reason he's not, isn't it? But Logan is here. Hello, Logan. Glad you're with us. And it's so okay. We're moving away from that whole thing. They put it down. We can write that one up as a failed experiment. But the idea of making the Rambo for a world heavyweight title shot changes the equation of the Rambo a little bit, doesn't it? Because those were always the mid card guys that didn't really make the show. Now, this card has some top talent that's not on Wrestle Kingdom, and that does happen. Remember, Ishii is not on Wrestle Kingdom every year. Go back and look at the list. But this puts them in a position to take some really good wrestlers and put them in a match that is going to end up mattering. I mean, you can kind of push a guy as a number one contender off this if the field in this Rambo is strong enough. Again, if it's the Young Lions, Chase Owens, and a couple of guys, then I don't think it's going to work as well like they're hoping it to. But if you take everybody good that's not on the Wrestle Kingdom card, and there's Sonata, Taichi, Ishii. Remember, Ishii's on for Wrestle Dynasty, but not necessarily. And all of a sudden,
Yoshihashi.
If these guys are in there fighting it out, then all of a sudden this Rambo matters. So to me, I think this is a plus. I think it's an improvement if they want to do something like this.
There are a number of people like Dustin Rhodes and Sammy Guevara that may end up being on there that are on that card the next night that you can easily throw in a Rambo, and it's fine. You know what I mean? It checks the box. We don't know who's going to be on there. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Great-O-Khan retiring the thing. I didn't think, even I didn't think this match was nearly as bad as you did.
Well, all right. Well, I thought it was bad enough for both of us. How about that?
I will tell you this. I watched all of these shows on piecemeal, on delay, in between here and there, throughout just working and dealing and just like engaging with family and doing all the obligations. These shows were not exactly like I was locked in on watching it, and I was watching this match, and I kind of knew that, like, all I saw was a photo of Great-O-Khan in the ring, saying that he had retired the card, and then or the belt, and then Taichi standing outside the ring, and I just thought Great-O-Khan won. So I was pleasantly surprised when they did that bullshit draw finish at the very end, where like either one got up, and I was like, okay, you know what? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You know, like you're watching and there was the respect shown to Taichi between Great-O-Khan, which I think is interesting, and we should pay attention to that a little bit. Was that mutual kind of respect affectation they had with each other? Like, no, Great-O-Khan gave him the trophy. He's like, you keep the trophy. I will hold on to this belt. Then he cried and retired the belt. He showed affection to it because, frankly, he's been tied to it for the last 2 years, if not more. Going all the way back. I think who was it that he was wrestling with it for in the beginning? Show? Was it? Or somebody weird had it at the beginning of the year, and it was like, okay. And then eventually just went to Great-O-Khan, and then we never got our eel match in a prefecture, which I hope we get an eel match in a prefecture. That was one of the stipulations he did in his rural revitalization project with an eel match. But there were some economic considerations, apparently, about doing an eel match that was going to cost a lot of money for that amount of eel. And Great-O-Khan couldn't quite swing it with his clout that they were going to be doing that to revitalize.
I just wouldn't want to eat eel that was sitting around a wrestling locker room for an hour and a half before he gets.
If there was a hot plate and it was covered, and then you brought it out, I'd be all over it. You just got to keep it warm, buddy.
I don't know what the Dutch oven situation is in the New Japan locker room.
There is so much technology. My mother got a warming plate that you fold up. It rolls up, and it keeps things warm on a warming plate. Technology these days is wild. It's just a matter of investing.
I don't know if
in Japan, I'm sure they got the technology, man. They got it. All right, let's fill this time. Let's keep going.
No. But that's the key. Is now all of a sudden this Rambo just means a lot more.
Yes.
KOPW title never really took off. Never really had much of an identity outside of weirdness. More than it was always a curiosity more than it was something over like the never open weight title or anything.
I am the optimistic cynic in which I hope they make the Rambo mean something. Mm-hmm. I hope that like it is actually a legitimate IWGP like title match that we get out of this. But I'm also prepared to believe that it's going to be something that is, you do it and you kind of get the vibe of, okay, this is just a thing. It's not quite as special as we wanted it to be because it just isn't. So it will only be as good as New Japan makes it. And I am curious if Great-O-Khan being the spokesperson to announce it should give us some caution as to what the ceiling is to this kind of reach for the IWGP title shot.
Dunston's asking, with the KOPW finally retired, do you think the strong titles are next? No, not at all. I think they have plans to continue to do those NJPW strong shows, to keep those titles on those shows. I don't get any indication at all that they're moving away from the strong titles.
Do you think that it's possible that they merge the women's strong title and the IWGP women's title?
That could be. I mean, you could do that. I think that would be fine.
There's no point in doing it or not doing it right now.
Yeah.
It's perfectly fine until a scenario comes that Mayu's out.
This is the thing we've been talking about for a long time, and maybe they're coming around to it with the Mayu Iwatani reign, which is it's not perfect when the title is defended and where and all that stuff, and against who's been mostly pretty good. Mayu's matches for this title have been outstanding. Mercedes has had some terrific matches for the strong women's title. I'm not complaining about the matches. Having Mercedes Moné as a bit of a draw for the NJPW strong shows in the U.S., or Mina Shirakawa, if they decide to go that direction, someone who is a star in the States holding the strong title, I'm fine with. I also think it's probably smart to have a member, someone more aligned to Stardom in Japan, so that when the IWGP women's title is defended, and I feel like it should be part of the New Japan big shows more often than it has been, but then to have that on a Stardom related person. So I don't mind having the two, because I think they're doing two different things from a business standpoint. One is to draw in Japan, one is to try to draw fans and viewers in America, and I'm fine with that. If they decide to have the super match again, and Mercedes against whoever the IWGP champion is, and combine them, you can do it at the Yokohama. That's one of Stardom's biggest shows. You could do it in a New Japan show. Yeah, I mean, maybe it wouldn't bother me. But right now, I don't think they're hurting one another. I think having Mayu and Mercedes Moné hold your championships is good for your prestige, not thinning things out at all.
Yeah, I think staying the course is probably fine.
Yeah,
it's like the women's division in New Japan is not the area of concern that requires the most attention right now. Like you have that quadrant of problems. Not a problem, not urgent. Urgent, not a problem.
Yeah.
Not urgent, problem. And urgent and a problem. This is like maybe urgent, but not a problem.
Yeah, and like War Hero 99 mentions, as long as they're running shows in the U.S., I think they're going to keep the strong titles.
Yeah,
I think as long as they have them there, we're going to keep the strong titles, and that's fine. They just need to have something going on over here. And as you said, New Japan has changed their plans and things. So
they always change their plans.
Oh yeah. That's
2024 was the year of changing the plan.
Yeah, you're right about that. And Logan mentioned something here. It said the rumor is we don't know what Mayu Iwatani's contract status is. Like we know that it's supposed to be up this year. She did a 2-year deal 2 years ago. That's coming up. Whether she stays in Stardom or not is open to a lot of speculations. Probably not fully decided yet. Mm-hmm. And that's going to be a big mark on the future. But if they don't feel like they can sign her, she's wrestling Azumi in the Dome, and Azumi is a terrific person to take over that championship if they decide to do it that way.
Speaking of Stardom, we got our own star right now.
Yeah.
We got a member of the Powerbombshells.
Fantastic.
We're going to bring her on right now. She's been away from Fight Game Media for a while, taking care of some business, but she was able and willing to join us today for a Powerbombshells crossover to preview the Tokyo Dome. So we're bringing on one Sam Shipman. Party time.
Yes. Sam, thank you for being here. This is fantastic.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for having me.
Yes. Welcome. Mel wasn't able to make it at the last minute, so you are the Powerbombshells avatar for all things Wrestle Kingdom today. So represent Powerbombshells.
All right, yeah. I will take that. I will take that and make Mel proud.
Absolutely. So first things first, we haven't spoken about New Japan and Wrestle Kingdom and Wrestle Dynasty per se What do you think about it right now? Are you enthusiastic? Are you cautious? All the things about New Japan, just word vomit all your thoughts. Give us where you are with your state of New Japan.
I am really, really looking forward to it. I always look forward to Wrestle Kingdom. I'm excited that it's on a Saturday this year instead of during the week because I have a day job. And even though I work from home, I have to generally I have to get up, I have to take a nap, get up, take a nap, get up, take a nap, and then watch the show and then take a nap because I try to be a responsible employee. So I'm glad it's at least on a weekend this year. But for as far as Wrestle, and as I call it, Wrestle Dynasty goes, I'm actually really looking forward. I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's a really cool concept. I do wish there was a little bit more CMLL and ROH involved. I mean, I know they're representative, but I don't want it to be a Forbidden Door. It's almost coming off so far like Forbidden Door 2, which not necessarily a bad thing, but your whole point is you're promoting this with CMLL, Stardom, ROH. I'd like to see, some more of that representation. It doesn't really look like we're getting as much as that as it sounded like in the beginning. And I'm a little concerned about how that's going to play out, but I'm really looking forward to the show.
Well, good. And, Brad mentions I can't wait to watch it at his parents' place. His dad's going to be watching his first Wrestle Kingdom. Oh, all right. Well, good. I hope
all right, so Steven, you're actually going to be in Japan for this.
Yeah, heading out.
Sam, you're going to be watching this live, or you're going to be waking up
well, at least for sure Wrestle Kingdom I'll definitely watch live, but then I had planned to watch Wrestle Dynasty live, but I forgot. I knew I'm going to Collision on the 4th, and I forgot, I knew they were the same day, but then my brain was like, wait a minute, that would mean that because it's an ROH taping as well, and I stay for the whole thing. So I was like, that means I'll be getting home at probably midnight or closer to it, and I'd have to turn around and get it. But then I was like, I say that I won't get up early, but knowing me, I don't want to miss out. So I will probably get up and watch both of them, but definitely watching Wrestle Kingdom live for sure.
So makes for a long day. Wrestle Dynasty is a day show in Japan, so timing wise, it'll probably be coming on about the time you're about to go to bed. So that was once you get back, because that's one that's coming on at midnight. Was it midnight Eastern or something like that?
Yeah,
I think you might be right.
Yeah.
This was interesting because I didn't know what my plans were going to be for watching this thing. I was kind of like, am I going to watch it live or not? And then Wrestling Observer Radio came on, and Melker said, I'm not watching this thing live. How about we all stay spoiler free and watch it at 8:30 a.m. the next morning at his house? And I was like, you know what? I'm okay with that. And then he threw the curveballs, and then we'll do the same thing for the next morning. I'm like, wait, why would we do that the next morning? And so I reached out to Garrett, and I'm like, hey, why don't we do the 8:30 a.m. Kingdom and then 8 p.m. when Dynasty airs for us? And I'm going to do the show in between with Conway and maybe see my wife. But Garrett was basically like, I like being married. That's not going to happen for me. So I may end up, because of the New Japan guy, watching all that stuff. But there is a reality that on the West Coast, you could watch it all in one day and get Wrestle Kingdom and Wrestle Dynasty if you stayed spoiler free and got up that morning. It's all one show, one day for us over here on the West Coast.
Oh, that works out well for you guys.
They were thinking about us. They talked to me and said,
I was just thinking, and I was like, no, that actually works out really well and very convenient. But yeah, because I forgot what time it started here.
New Japan podcast. How can we accommodate the one host of it?
Yeah, I forgot what time so it's the January 5th show is at midnight Eastern?
I'm checking right now.
On midnight on the West Coast. And then it's 8
p.m. So 3 a.m.
And then it's 8 p.m. for Dynasty. So if we all just went to bed and then stayed for free, it's easier to just get up and watch it.
So if that's going on at 8 Pacific, then that means Dynasty is at 11 p.m. East. Then.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, so
which is not hard.
I will still probably be at ROH then, because Collision ends at 10, and I think they tape depending maybe Well, maybe if I still may miss some of it because if they end at 10 and immediately start on at ROH taping, so I may be home.
Or you could watch it on your phone on the way home like a sicko.
That is true. I could do that and I only live like 15 minutes from the venue, so
just
I could be a
catch a kickoff match.
Yeah.
You know what you could do actually is you could time whether it takes you longer to get home or the women's four-way lasts longer between the arena and your house.
I should do that.
And
you know what, I probably
whether
will.
the pre-show match is a longer route.
Well, we don't know the order of the main card matches for Dynasty. We do know what the two pre-show matches are. So the pre-show matches are the International Women's Four-Way match. That's Momo Watanabe from Stardom, Persephone from CMLL, making one of her first matches over, Willow Nightingale from AEW, and Athena from ROH. I'm excited. I'm going to see Athena twice. At least there, because she's going to be at the Stardom show on January 3rd, and I'll be headed to that one. And so that'll
I was ready for you, Steven.
That was going to be the first pre-show match. The next one is the ROH World Tag Team Championship match. Sammy Guevara, who's got a family trip planned to Japan, as it turns out. Yes. Dustin Rhodes, the champions, against the challenge of Yoshinobu Kanemaru and Sho. So that'll be the ROH Tag Team Championship match. We know that those two are the pre-show, and the rest of it is not in any specific order right now. And I imagine that's for kayfabe reasons, as a lot of these matches, we don't know who the champions are going to be of these various titles. Right. And for kayfabe purposes, we can't say what the last match is. We don't know who the world champion is going to be. So I think that's going to be it.
I desperately need to know your two's reaction to this match when you heard it announced.
To Dustin and Sammy against
I didn't realize. Okay, I did not realize that the four-way is on the pre-show, and so I'm already irritated.
I am sorry to break that bad news to you.
Thank you for that. Thank you for breaking that bad news to me, so I can yell at Tony Khan on the. Well, it's not his fault. I mean, it is, but tomorrow is the media call for World's End. I'm like, but I guess he doesn't. I guess he doesn't. I guess. He's not the only person who makes the card for Wrestle.
He will immediately defend it with the fact that Mercedes is on the main card and might be second from the bottom.
At least she won't be the third match of the night like she would be on. Like she probably will be on World's End, but
I'm a little worried she's going to be lower on the card on this one. I was looking at the way that they had that match listing, and she might open.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know.
Or this show.
At this show, Dynasty.
I don't know. I don't think that's how it's going to go.
I wouldn't be nothing would. I would just say nothing would surprise me at this point.
What is the highest a woman's match has ever been on a New Japan Tokyo Dome card?
Well, on the one time it was on a Tokyo Dome, it was in the middle.
There's been 2 or 3. It's either been a kickoff or the second match on the card.
Well, but I mean, when was
Mercedes'
the kickoff?
First match was midway through the show, right? Because they were trying to get people. She was like midway through.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
The first time.
And when they had Tam and Kyrie, that was like something like third or fourth or something like that. It's been a little while.
We will get to that in a minute, I suppose. But this
Sorry.
match right here.
Sorry to take that off on a tangent. I didn't realize.
Totally fine. I am 100% here for this match. This match sounds awesome. Like it's one of those I never thought I'd see it. And if Dustin Rhodes is gonna get his like bucket list item of a Tokyo Dome match, and we're just doing a tag title match, Kanemaru and Sho are the perfect guys to just get this thing done.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really care. I don't really care too much, but it's. I mean, Kanemaru and Sho aren't going to win this thing. So what we have over here is we have Dustin Rhodes, who's occasionally used as talent on TV, and Sammy Guevara, who's occasionally talented. So we've got in a match on that end of it. So, but it'll be fine. It's a kickoff match. It won't be very long.
Thank you match to Dustin.
Yeah, and I like Dustin a lot. I'm looking forward to seeing Dustin, and that's fun. I got to go a couple of 1,000 miles to see a guy that only lives about 30 miles from me. Actually, he's up here in Georgetown. But
don't raise his arm high. He'll get Tokyo Dome moment. Great.
I'm going to be happy to see Dustin. Yeah. And then Kanemaru and Sho put him over. So they'll be fine.
Totally here for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was watching Final Battle. Yeah, I was watching Final Battle and I saw House of Torture pop up and I was like, what the hell is this? I was like, what do you mean? I was like, what are we doing with House of Torture? And then I was like, and then I heard what they were challenging for. And I was at first, I was a little annoyed, but I was like, I guess at least I was like, I like Kanemaru. I was like, Sho is fine. It'll be fine. Like you said, I'm the same way. Dustin's getting his Tokyo Dome moment. I'm going to get a Dustin Destroyer in the Tokyo Dome, which I'm excited about because I always pop for hit. I mean, of course, I love Destroyers in general, but I love when he does them. And he and Sammy, there's a lot you can say about Sammy. However, when he's with Dustin, they tend to be. I'm not one of the Sammy haters. Sometimes he annoys me just outside of the ring, but in general, I don't hate him as much as a lot of other people do. And so with Dustin, he seems to, I think putting him with Dustin is smart. I think Tony had the right idea. I think Dustin is somebody who can, because out of if you look at the pillars and the pillars that they have here, Sammy is kind of the forgotten one. And I feel like, granted, he's held multiple titles, which it sounds like you would not call him forgotten when he's a multi-time champion in AEW. But I feel like just because of some things that had happened last year with him and the Hardy Boys and that whole thing, I think putting him with Dustin is something that was a good idea. And I think that hopefully he gets that Tokyo Dome is important and he will follow Dustin's lead and have a good match.
Yeah, and we're getting comments in here about other women's matches, but keep in mind that they would have a Stardom match on the kickoff before, and that did happen for a couple of years. Mayu Iwatani and Starlight Kid have been on the shows before, so that's all happened before.
We're 10-minute matches here and there, but it's not been
we're talking. What I'm saying here is that we're talking about a match that is a featured match on the show, not just a hey, look, here's the Stardom match on the kickoff. This is something that actually is presented as an important match on the card. And there's a bit of a difference there. It was just like, hey, by the way, we also own Stardom, and here's a couple of Stardom wrestlers, which is how it was presented before. Now this whole thing, these matches here, the Mercedes match with Mina, the Mayu match with Azumi might steal the damn show. I mean, these are big ones, and they're part of this show, and a big part of this show. Not in it's here's a little showcase for another company that's nearby, but this is part of canon.
The worry always was you would get this match built, and the last couple of years you'd get a big women's match at one of these big shows, and then when the match was over, it almost felt like it was a token match to appease people, saying, "Hey, we're putting a women's match on here. Aren't you happy?" Rather than the reason we wanted a women's match is if you give them an opportunity to show out at a big show, you will be rewarded for it, and you're not doing that. And so that was really just don't make it a token opportunity, really commit and go in on it. If it is the second biggest match on the card, make it the second biggest match top of the card. But if because of the women's match, I don't want it to be, the semi to the mid card main event. You know what I mean? That's not.
Well, here's the thing. I think if you look at the Dynasty thing, and I don't know where we know. Well, we do know where Mayu is slotted in. So let's go ahead and look at that. So the Mayu Iwatani match is on the main card second. That's right after the Tokyo Terror ladder match that we're about to get to, where after they clean up the bodies, Mayu and Azumi will have their women's championship match. And then after that, we have the TV title four-way. Then we have the Tanahashi match, the never openweight title match, the junior heavyweight title match. So after that, it's all the big New Japan titles. So it's slotted in amongst all the major New Japan belts. So that's where the IWGP women's title is set for. And considering the others have months of New Japan build-up and feuds, I'm kind of okay with where it is. I'm kind of okay with where it is. I think second on the card doesn't mean it's unimportant. I just think it's an example of how freaking loaded this show is. And it is a loaded show. I don't know how many people are going to be in it. I don't know how many people are going to be in attendance because I know that the indications aren't great. The company's not very hot right now, and they aren't drawing great. But this is a loaded show, and this is about as good a show for what they can put together right now. And it's very important for telling stories going into 2025, which should be a critical year as they try to change out the main event mix.
Right.
So, I think that's slotted well. Now, where Mercedes and Mina show up on Dynasty, that's more complicated. But, that we don't know because we don't know the booking for the Tokyo Dome, the Kingdom card. It's hard to say, but.
They definitely did that match card subject to change, but I felt like those match card subject to change was entirely predicated on the title changes that happened on the night before. It had nothing to do with the card placement that was set on the bottom of the card. Like if Shota Umino were to win against Zack Sabre Jr., that match against Claudio would supersede Zack Sabre Jr. versus Ricochet. But I think the card aspect that has already, like, the titles are set and those matches aren't going anywhere, I think those are probably a little bit more locked in. And that is generally the concern. I agree with you. I don't have a problem where the Mayu match is on Kingdom because it hasn't been a focus and build of New Japan through the entire year round. But for a spectacle all-star show with all these different promotions, sometimes you have to rejigger the priorities of what matches are where on the card. And it is somewhat antiquated in my point of view if they stay the course.
Yeah, we'll see what they do with it. We'll see where they play. But we also have, so we mentioned the tag team, the other piece of news that came out of the Christmas Korakuens. So we had Clark Connors and Drill Maloney just ran roughshod over everybody, ran in, started beating the living tar out of folks. And they have decided that this match wasn't dangerous enough. So we're going to add in that this is now a Tokyo Terror ladder match. And basically, Kushida got on the microphone and tried to say tables, ladders, and chairs, but he forgot the English word for tables. So he said desks. It's a desk match. So we're using
I'll
desks.
Take it.
Yeah, sure. Close enough. We know what you mean, buddy. It's okay. But obviously, this is going to be no DQ, and they're going to hang the titles from the dome, and they will have you got to climb up the ladder and get the junior tag titles. So again, hopefully everyone has their parents' numbers ready to be informed, because these guys have a pretty reckless disregard for their own safety normally, and now we're going to be at the biggest show of the year in a match where you can jump off of ladders onto things, and good luck to everyone involved. I might end up with one of these. I might end up with a souvenir wrestler to take home. I'm sitting in like the first 5 rows, and I have a feeling I might take a bump.
You'll have a towel covered in baby oil.
If Drilla gets anywhere near me, I'm going to jump into bed in my hotel. I'm going to slide right out into the wall. Drilla is a shiny man, but that was so that's going to be chaos. That was the other bit of news we got out of that. They keep trying to up the stakes. First, it was going to be, all right, now we're going to do a 4-way. He says, well, now we're going to do the ladder match in the 4-way and thing. So that one's going to be nuts. But and that's going to be the action-packed 4-way to kick off the show, which is really reminiscent of what they did 6-7 years ago, basically when you had teams like the Time Splitters, Alex Shelley and Kushida, and the Bucks and Red Dragon. They used to just lead off the show with basically a stunt show, and just get the crowd hyped up and doing all the wahs, which that Japanese crowd wah thing that you always get. We're going to get a bunch of those out of this one. It seems like they're going for that opener again.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think the ladder match will be fun. I'm surprised Sammy Guevara, he might try to find a way to. He heard ladders in the Tokyo Dome. He might try to find it. He might take somebody out and try to finesse his way into that match.
He might try to join the War Dogs just so he can get in there. But
I fully expect him to climb a scaffolding at the Rainbow and just jump off. Something.
Yeah.
Now, Sam, you've talked to Kevin Knight on your show before. Who do you think of this guy? Where do you think they should go forward with these titles, though? I know that the junior tag titles can bounce around a lot, so it's not a earth-shaking decision either way. But just from your perspective, looking at these 4 teams, each of which brings something interesting to the table as title holders, where would you go?
Right. I mean, personally, I love Kushida and Kevin Knight. Like, out of these 4, that's probably my favorite team here. I do love the Sweet Ichiban boys as well. But I would keep the titles on Kushida and Kevin Knight, but that's just because I love them together. Like I love them separately, but I love them together. They're a lot of fun. I feel like Kevin Knight has really just started coming into his own, especially in Japan. And I think like he has such a high ceiling. I cannot wait to see what he does in this match. But because like you said, those titles bounce around so much, I would not be surprised if there's a title change just because that's what they do. And like you said, this is setting the tone for the rest of the year. And, title changes are going to happen with it being the beginning of the year. So I could see this being the very first match that they change hands to, start us off into the new year. So I would not be surprised if even or depending on what they're doing with the War Dog story and how David Finlay does in his match, like if they try to go all Bullet Club having gold again, I could see that being where they go with that too.
It's interesting. It might not necessarily bode well for David Finlay if Connors and Maloney come out of there, because they do like to spread the titles around among the factions. And so it might be an interesting little twist. Like they do that one, that could mean that Tsuji's going to get the win there. I've been kind of postulating.
I would like,
and I still feel strongly that I don't think Zack and Finlay are walking out with titles at the end of this. I just think New Japan is still conservative enough that they're not going to want at the biggest show all the white guys to walk out with the belts. And that's just, because we had the white guys with belts there earlier on when it was Nemeth, Moxley, Riddle, Jesus. We sat through that and we got through that and we got rid of Matt, and he can just go off and do coke wherever he wants to now. It's fine. He can do whatever he wants. And we don't
apparently
have to deal
it's an MLW now.
Are they stuck with him? They can have him.
Him and Filthy Tom are a tag team. I saw Filthy Tom post something the other day. I don't know if it's like a new thing or if it's just for a specific show, but Filthy Tom came up on my Instagram page and I started to watch the promo and I saw Matt Riddle and I quit watching it. Yeah. And they're called like filthy bros, I think is what they're calling themselves or something. So I was like, nope, I have zero interest. All my interest is gone. Sorry, Tom.
I actually don't have any interest in MLW, so it works out. All the best to Tom Lawler. I like him. He's a friend of the show.
And Bad Dude Tito has a title over there in MLW. It's unfortunate. Yeah, Big Teats has a title. He won a title there a few months ago, and he still has it. I can't remember which title it is. It's like national something or other. And I was like, MLW lost my interest a while ago, and so I've not watched it. But good for Teats. I hope he does well over there until they figure out until they bring him. I hope they bring him back to Japan because
there's another podcast that we all are going to be guesting on shortly individually called We Work Stiff, and it is a storytelling podcast. And one of the things that they get me to think about is long-term things. And for me, I have begun to look at Wrestle Kingdom 19 and Wrestle Kingdom 20 as a part 1 and part 2 to each other, but they're not telling you that. Kind of like how you went into Wicked and then you found out it was a part 1 when you got there. You're like, oh, I wasn't expecting this.
Wait a minute. Defy Gravity's before intermission. We haven't even done that yet.
But
Defy Gravity's before intermission.
Right. But if you think about that, there is a reality that Finlay and Zack could both retain because it is a story of the Reiwa trying to climb the mountain and them all failing and then trying to then each have a goal that they surpass. Yota Tsuji had an exceptionally great year, if you think about it. He New Japan Cup, G1, beat Finlay a number of times. I would not be shocked if Finlay beats him clean in the middle of the ring and there being some kind of Yoda has to reflect in some way, shape, or form. Same with Shota, where if he loses to Zack, he has come off remarkably strong with the build over the last couple weeks with the way that they've been doing the Road to Tokyo Dome matches.
Right.
But I think there's a lot more meat to the bone if they lose and then they spend the next year like fighting that strong style rather than getting the gratification of them winning this year and or Finlay and Zack Sabre Jr.
I'm glad that you put that out there so that I'm not mad when Tsuji loses. So I'm not as mad when Tsuji loses this year.
But he was so dominant, right? Like They put him
and that's why I want him to continue. But you're right, it is New Japan. This is how they tell stories. There's always got to be, the adversity. Well, I mean, obviously in wrestling in general, but yeah, you make a good point, and so that will keep that in mind.
The only other thing that I trip up on is that if they do the thing where Finlay wins and Tsuji fails, and then Zack wins and Shota fails, you're kind of telling the same story the same way twice in 3 matches, and I'm not sure New Japan's going to do that.
Here's the other thing: it wasn't really supposed to be Yota, Tsuji, and Finlay. It was supposed to be Yuya, Uemura, and Finlay. And so,
maybe we don't know that, Jeremy. We really don't. We don't know
he's
that.
teasing Yuya Uemura in these matches and wanting to get at Taichi, and then all of a sudden it's Yota Tsuji pivoted and standing in as the avatar for the guy from Just Five Guys after Sonata defected.
See, Uemura might have been King of Pro Wrestling.
I think it was supposed to be Yuya, and I just the way that they had it all laid out. It could have been. So I'm hedging that Finlay retained on the basis that this wasn't originally the plan.
Yeah, I don't think Uemura's well. Of the two, I think they're ready to push Tsuji more than they're ready to push Uemura. And I think
how they wanted to do it though. So this could be the way to do it. It might not have been the plan.
See, I think Uemura might have been the guy who beat a King of Pro Wrestling. I think if he doesn't get hurt, I think that might have been the route to me. Anyway, we'll see. Another thing that happened there, by the way, at the Korakuens, Evil, who is a very busy man these days. He's got a lot going on. He has once again done a post-match attack on Tanahashi, which surprised nobody, and hacked off a chunk of Tanahashi's hair. Now, this is one that I've talked about. I know it, man. This is
a weird way to get here, right?
This is one I've talked about for a while, and I just make my prediction is that my prediction is not real tricky, that this is not Hiroshi Tanahashi's final match, but I think he might lose it. I think he might lose it. And because I think they're going to go back on, first of all, whenever Tanahashi has his last match, it's not going to be his last match. That almost never happens in wrestling. Almost never, people never walk away, virtually never. Jack Briscoe, that's the list. That's the list so far of guys who actually walked away and stayed away. But Tanahashi's going to come back. But the way they're building this one, part of me, Jeremy, when they threw in this retirement angle that they didn't need, he already said, I'm going to do one more year and I'm going to retire at Wrestle Kingdom next year. The 2026 Wrestle Kingdom is going to be my one last tour around. Then they throw in this retirement thing. It plants the seed of doubt a little bit to me. I think it's clever. It's not going to be his last match. But he might lose it too, because and then they do some kind of angle down the road. And the reason I'm just saying this is it's also possible that Tanahashi, look at the way he's moved for the last 4 or 5 months. Look at the way he's wrestled for the last 4 or 5 months. He might be thinking, right, I don't think I can do another, trip around the globe as a tour. I mean, I might just have this match against Watanabe, and he and Evil have a relationship to go back to his Young Lion days, and they're close. Maybe I put over Watanabe. I spend the rest of the year, maybe I get my knees worked on, something like that, and then come back for Kingdom. But I wonder if he thinks that, boy, do I want to just stink for a year just to go around and have matches at a bunch of places? Because he's been bad the last few months. It's not just that Tanahashi's not what he used to be. He's been bad. And I don't think he wants to be bad that whole year. So I think it plants a little seed of doubt that he might use this as a way to kind of get out of that tour, or at least cut down on the dates on it. I don't think he wants to go around the horn again.
Sam, what do you got? What do you think?
And War Hero says HBK walked away. No, he absolutely did not. Injuries got him off. Believe me, War Hero, if Shawn Michaels could be bathing in our adulation in the ring right now, he'd be doing it. Believe me.
I mean, he still finds a way on TV, just like his buddy Paul. So
with his
he'll find a way on TV.
The dime store cowboy.
Reliving his past stories and in angles on NXT.
Oh God.
Yes, that's what he's doing. Yeah.
Same with Triple H. Yeah, you're right.
Yes, exactly. He finds a way to get on TV. And I think Brad's right. Sting got his send off. I don't think he comes back. Tana, I think it's right. He did the right thing by saying this was it. This is, well, for now, we know how that goes. But as of how we're looking at it, if Tana is serious about retiring, I think he was right. He's not what he used to be. A lot of people can see when they, especially people who are newer to New Japan, and when they're like, this is the Tana you were talking about.
Yeah.
And I don't want him to embarrass himself. I don't really like that his matches with Evil, but I guess Evil, I know that House of Torture is viewed differently from the Japanese audience than it is from pretty much everywhere else. So maybe to them, this is a match that they want. Maybe this is a match they want to see. For me, it's not. Tell Kathy I said hello and tell her tell her that I am, even though Mel is not here, I'm still pronouncing Dynasty incorrectly. Me and Mel got called out for that by Kathy the other day for incorrectly saying it. But yeah, I mean, you do bring up a good point about Tana not wanting to be bad for a year, but you also want to give him a proper send-off and let him wrestle who he can. And so it's I don't know. I have no interest in an Evil match with him, but I know, like, I feel like that's more for the Japanese fans, and sometimes Western fans just have to be quiet and just let things happen.
Not for you. This match is not for you.
It's also
not for me.
Yeah, and it's not. Tanahashi is the president of the company. He's handpicking his opponents, and one of the things is that he and Evil are tight, and it's been going on ever since he was on even on Excursion, or even before that when he was Young Lion. It's so this would be one of the guys that Tanahashi would want to work with.
Yeah, and I can say, and I don't have any, like, from that perspective, I don't have any problem with that. Like, this is his final year. Let him pick his opponents. Like, even if the matches are not for me, they're for Tana. I mean, they're for him. They are to let him say goodbye in the way that he wants to say goodbye.
And then,
Brad, how dare you? You stole my point. Damn it.
Brad mentions that Tanahashi choosing Evil as a second to last Tokyo Dome match, and then Sumi Sakai bringing him in for her retirement.
I was really surprised by that. But then again, I'm not super familiar with a lot. I mean, I am familiar with Sumi, but I'm not familiar with their relationship. And so I was very caught off guard that that's who she picked for her to send her off.
To mention, Sumi Sakai is going to be have her retirement match allegedly at Battle of the Valley, and it's going to be Sumi teaming with House of Torture. So going to be Evil and Show against Hiromu Takahashi, Mayu Iwatani, and Yuka Sakazaki.
I guess I don't have the right one, but
that's all right. Yeah. And then USVA guy is here. Oh, good. He says there's a lot of stuff going to be happening the next year with Tana. He's definitely going to be having a bunch of fun. So yeah.
Okay. So
he deserves it.
I'd like to throw in on this one. The tell for me was when they threw a stipulation that Tanahashi might retire a month before the match. Yeah. If you were going to build this up, you're leaving so much money on the table, guys. Like, the idea that in 1 month this guy won't be wrestling, you got to think about every show from January 5th, 2025 to January 4th, 2026. He could legitimately add 100 tickets to every show just on his name alone. And just, even if he's performing or not performing, that's money on the table. Everyone's going to want to see the last time they get a chance to see Tanahashi. And if you take that away from people, it's a great stipulation to get people scared to think that he's not going to do it. But the economic factor of having Tanahashi on any tour for the next calendar year is going to be much better than if you just say, whoop, a month ago, here's the stipulation, he's done, bye.
Yeah. I'm just saying it did plant the seed of doubt because of that. It did plant the seed of doubt.
And they did it even more in a corporate way, because it wasn't until this stipulation came out that some of these rumors were persisting that, like, Tanahashi was actually going to retire this year, but because of all the people leaving, he decided to, push that off a year. All of a sudden, that narrative is coming out right around the same time that the stipulation comes out. And it's a good bit of gamesmanship. And I like that. It's like you're muddying the water to make you think that, hey, this thing that, it couldn't possibly happen. Like, well, it was originally the plan. Maybe they're just going back to, you know what I mean? Like, you start compromising your head, like, why they would do this rather than that. And that's good.
I still think it's possible he loses the thing and then writes his way back into it. I just, he might.
You don't think it's going to be a Cody Rhodes situation where he put himself out of a title shot in AEW?
No,
and then
I do not.
He booked himself into a corner.
So let's think this out. Like, he has to retire, and then he earned his right to wrestle again at like Dominion, and then he's going to retire again in 6 months.
Yeah, maybe
he's going to come to
yes,
AEW
maybe.
He's going to be in a face of the ladder. He's going to come to AEW and he's going to be the Joker in the face of the ladder match at Revolution, and he's going to wrestle in AEW for a little bit, and then he'll come back.
Given how they treat Ishii in AEW, I want no business.
No. But you're asking, like, you know how many times Inoki might have retired, or Muto, or all this. They do this stuff all the time. They do this crap all the time.
Yeah.
So the other thing, after having eye surgery early in the month, Tetsuya Naito made a surprise appearance, and of course, this was mostly to put a little bit of heat on his dome match with Hiromu Takahashi, but Naito was out for any preview tags. He just wasn't working any of the run-up shows. So as Hiromu wrestled the Young Lions at the beginning of each of these Christmas Korakuens, he won. The first one passed without incident. Second one, Naito came in and kind of sneak attacked him a little bit, but Hiromu got the best of it. Hiromu got the best of him and said he's going to destroy him at the Tokyo Dome. So once again, it's still a friendly rivalry. I mean, these guys are still faction mates. I have a feeling this is going to end with some sort of a handshake. I don't know if Naito does hugs, but it'll be something emotional in the ring for these two, second from the top in the main event. I was glad to see Naito come back. I think it was a good move, especially after word got out that he did have eye surgery. The word got out. They announced it on Chris Charles. It wasn't a secret. I didn't mean to imply.
Yelled it from the rooftop.
I didn't mean that it was a secret, but I like it. I didn't mean to imply that it was a secret. But when Naito came back, just to show everybody, see, he's good to go. I think that was a healthy move, smart idea. And he didn't do very much. He's still kind of recovering there, but peak there. Interesting match. There's, again, you can make a case for it going both ways, but we don't know how much longer we have Naito, certainly not.
No, we do not.
Because his body seems to be pretty much shot. Might be time for Hiromu to get that win.
Yeah, I feel like Naito's in this phase of his career where every match that we get with him, we should be appreciative of. Not that we wouldn't anyway, but like, we don't know how much longer he's gonna have. And so I tried, and I feel like this is smart to do this match now. And I didn't see where he came back. I had heard about it where he came back, and I think it was, like you said, a nice little fun thing to kind of, because like the match is, the whole little feud is just a friendly little feud. It's just kind of the mentor and the student type of thing. And I think you're right. I think Hiromu probably does get the win here, and I feel like it'll end. This year we had the emotional moment with Sonata that we weren't expecting at Wrestle Kingdom this year, and so I feel like we're going to kind of get a repeat of it that this year or next year with Hiromu here. And I think Naito knows that he has less matches in the tank than he would like to admit. I think he's kind of trying to I don't know if I want to say tie up loose ends, but I feel like he is also trying to get the matches in that he wants to get in while he can.
Yeah. And this was one, again, it's supposed to happen during the pandemic, and it got wiped away by that. Because he was the champion, Hiromu was the junior champion, so they were supposed to do the anniversary show thing, and it never really worked out.
Yeah.
And but that was going to be a big moment for them. Which, man, the more I look back on that stuff, because I look back when they started talking about this match actually happening, and we figured it out. The company was red freaking hot in 2019. It just kills me too, because they had almost 40,000 people in the dome in January of 2020. Like, that was a big draw. It was all right there. And now that company's still recovering from the pandemic.
They are.
New Japan is still absolutely recovering from the pandemic.
So I was thinking about it, and it's like, you can go either way with Naito and Hiromu, and it doesn't matter. Like, it is a match for them. It is a match for the audience. The direction that you have afterwards seems kind of abundantly clear. Sam, I don't know if you've really pinged onto what we've been talking about here, but the idea would be is that the Young Bucks win the titles at Wrestle Dynasty, if you're nasty. and then it would be Hiromu and Naito using their World Tag League cash in to challenge them.
I've heard
and be
that
the
theory
heroes to take the titles back at some point in February or March. And then it's just Hiromu and Naito just doing a, little victory lap, defending the tag titles.
I would be totally okay with that.
And
I would be happy with it.
I don't know if Naito has another Wrestle Kingdom match. I've talked with this about Steven in the past that I feel like when Naito's done, he's just gonna walk away. He has these surgeries, and we talk like he's not gonna be able to have another surgery, and then he magically finds a little loophole to do a surgery on the other eye instead of a fourth surgery on the eye that he needs. And you're just like, bro, your punch card is about used up here. And so 2025 might be it. I don't know if he's in the G1 this year. Know what I mean?
A tag team with Hiromu Takahashi is a really smart move too, because Hiromu can do most of the work.
Yeah,
and he can still be in the match. And in a 12-minute match, Naito can do 3 or 4 minutes of it, and it would still be
right. And then I think Hiromu, respects him so much to the point that he will do whatever he can to take care of him, and if that means tagging with him and doing 95% of the matches, then he'll do it. I think he'll do whatever Hiromu needs him to. I mean, whatever Naito needs. Even if Naito doesn't ask, I think Hiromu knows him well enough
talk about
that
this.
he will. Yeah.
Yeah. So Brad mentions that he's hoping Great Okan can make it. Okan had to pull out of the DDT match due to an injury. So, Okan's out for that one, and we'll have to see.
So here's the thing: what do you do if Great Okan's out?
I don't know. No,
you put Bishamon in there. You make it go to Yoshihashi.
Maybe that's what you do.
I will take it. I love them.
Maybe that's what you have to do.
I will take that. That'll be a good.
If he's out,
match.
It's another week. It's not the biggest deal in the world if Great Okan can't do this match with a mystery partner, which is probably going to be Jeff Cobb. You know what I mean? Which is that's who I thought it was going to be this whole time.
I was once Templario joined United Empire. I was kind of hoping
that would be cool. He's CMLL guys, but he might be in that CMLL match. Depends on how many CMLL guys they decided to send on over, and if they can spare an extra one.
Well, that's the point.
Have they announced is Hechicero involved in this card at all?
No, he's not been mentioned, but he is on the Battle in the Valley card.
Yeah.
Yes, he is against Zach.
I'm going to be there for that, and I feel like that is a gift to me.
Yeah, it is a gift for you. I love him, and I put him in. Could you imagine a mystery team of him and Great Okan? That would be such an insane team if that's his. I mean, I know he's not in. I know Templario is, but Great Okan and
they have an opportunity to just go wild with that match if Great Okan can't make it. Great Okan has worked really, really hard this year. So it would be awful for him to miss his opportunities at the Tokyo Dome because the dude has not been given the spotlight matches, but he's been grinding on those cards at the top of the card, trying to deliver an experience for the fans when most of the other people have already packed up their bags and are ready to get on the bus. So I have a lot of respect for what Great Okan does. I hope that he is okay for this match, but I do see opportunities otherwise to really get people talking about the Wrestle Dynasty card if the Bucks have a vacant or a vacant opponent for this tag title.
They could always cancel the Young Bucks match.
Wow, you really need
just
this.
Cancel.
You need this. You need this in your life.
We're good, guys. No, we're good. We don't need you. That's okay.
I'm actually in the general neighborhood of the Young Bucks right now. They live in this.
Watch out, it might get super kicked. If you say their names enough time, they might show up.
Driver off of this gate and just take me out.
Well, the good news is none of their moves.
They might be setting up right now. Cutler's probably firing up the camera so that he can do a quick BTE episode.
I've seen a couple of these similar mountain landscapes in their videos to New Japan.
The good news is about the Meltzer driver is the odds are in your favor because they botched the move 2 or 3 out of 4 times they do it, so you don't have to worry about it too much.
Well, I thought it was the 5 stars that you see in your eyes after you're hit with the move that they
never seen 5 stars there. All right, now moving on. We have the never openweight championship match: Shingo Takagi and Konosuke Takeshita. This one is absolute can't miss fire. I mean, I can't wait for this one. It's my most anticipated match of the whole weekend. So, Sam, you see Takeshita all the time on AEW TV, and you saw him also in the G1 here in New Japan. To me, there's quite a big difference in him and his style and just the way he's portrayed. Can you talk to us a little bit about what you expect from this match?
I expect this to probably be maybe match of the weekend, probably match of the show. I am a huge fan of both of them. And so this match is for me. It's what I feel like. This is just, I don't care who wins. I just want to see them just beat the crap out of each other. And you're right, their styles are different, but I think Takagi is so good at adapting to anything that he's given. Takeshita is too. I feel like Takeshita knows that he made a good impression in the G1 and he wants to, because he still, does he still technically represent DDT? He still does, right?
Not anymore.
Or is not anymore?
So.
So it's not a. Okay, I wasn't sure if they were still.
DDT is not involved in the branding of this at all.
I'll say this: I am looking at NJPW 1972, the schedule right now, and underneath Konosuke Takeshita is DDT/AEW. So
he is still technically with them, even though he hasn't wrestled. Maybe he'll be over there with all this, with all the big shows that they. Well, no, I guess he would have been announced by now. But regardless, I think he made such an impression in the G1 that he wants to continue that, and I think he almost has to beat Shingo, because Shingo is one of the best in New Japan, and if Takeshita wants that respect in New Japan, especially coming from DDT and the way some fans feel about DDT, I feel like Takeshita kind of has to win this match. But I'm just expecting it to be an incredible match. I'm already just gonna give it 5 stars probably, just based on that. I have really high expectations. It would take a lot for this to be a disappointment. I'm just, like I said,
the match that all other matches will be compared to. It's the baseline match of 2025.
I like this. I might as well just. I have it. I keep a list of what I think are match of the years. I might as well just go ahead and open my phone and start 2025 and put that on there, because it will. I think it will probably be. And I saw Takeshita when he wrestled at Revolution against Will Ospreay, and I knew, I was like, this match is going to be good. And then I was not expecting a 5-star match, and I got one. And Takeshita, I feel like, kind of tries to live up to that. I feel like with Shingo being as who he is in Japan, he's gonna that. I feel like Takeshita. I feel like he has to win this. It's not going to hurt. It's clearly he's not going to hurt.
Would you have Ishii win the next night?
Maybe, because I love Ishii too. But it depends on the story of what, like you said, what they're telling for 2025. Are we? And then Forbidden Door, I know is not. I keep forgetting it's not till August next year. I keep thinking it's in June like it normally is, but it's not till August. So do any of these kind of crossover matches have anything that, how will this play out late? Will we revisit this at Forbidden Door type thing? And Ishii is used fairly often, depending on, obviously New Japan schedule. He's used in AEW fairly often. So you could have Ishii win there and then do a rematch down the line or something like that.
He does. He doesn't win very much in AEW, and I'm not. It's just he's usually used to put guys over. It's for me. This feels like Takeshita running the table, and to me anyway. And he can have the run with the Never title a little bit. It seems like the Never title always goes to the United States for a little while in the beginning of the year. The only good news from that, there's more. No, I'm not going to say only. The good news from that, if Takeshita wins these things, that means we get more Takeshita, which is all I really want. Is I want him to be a New Japan wrestler. Right. To be fair, we were joking. we were joking around with the WeWork Stiff guys. This guy's a New Japan wrestler. He just doesn't know it yet. Right.
True. That's a very fair assessment. And then I guess if they put the title on, if they put the Never title on him, they've got some of the strong shows. I think
Yeah.
But the strong shows seem to be more summer and later in the year, right? I mean, I know there's Battle in the Valley, but then is there a gap for a while?
They do something in April. They start doing stuff again in April. Is around when they start doing some domestic stuff.
I mean,
they
you
don't
have
really in March because of the New Japan Cup. But once the New Japan Cup is done, and they do the new beginning shows in February, so they booked out February, March. But after that, they start coming back to the States.
Do it. You can do it.
Yeah, so I could see it more for that. They could do. I don't see Takeshita losing the international title anytime soon, so they could do 2-belt Takeshita for a little bit if they wanted to.
I feel really bad for Will Hobbs right now because they put him in this situation of challenging for this title, and it would be professional disrespect for AEW at this point to take away a title that on the programming they've said will more than likely be up at the Tokyo Dome. So you put Will Hobbs in a bad situation there.
Yeah.
And you've also put New Japan in a bad situation there. It's not ideal. I understand that Tony Khan is trying to book out pay-per-views, but at the same time, this is why New Japan does it this way, where they only have one title match set up at a time, because then it starts getting muddy. Like this stuff that they're doing at Wrestle Kingdom and Wrestle Dynasty, in all honesty, like it doesn't sit right with me. It doesn't feel authentically New Japan, because it's like, oh, if this person has the title, then he's going to defend on there. Like this just feels like you're fitting 12 ounces of food into an 8-ounce container. It's just, you're squeezing so much in there. And the only other aspect I would say is like the idea of Takeshita in New Japan seems a lot more likely to me because of the Callis family relationship with Kyle Fletcher as well. Because it's clear that Kyle Fletcher has big plans in New Japan, but you need to focus on Kyle Fletcher. So if Takeshita is going to get a run and he's going to get some spotlight and he's going to get like an ability to run roughshod, it can't be in AEW right now because that's what Kyle Fletcher is doing in singles action. So Takeshita is the AEW terror that comes and runs wild in New Japan, and he's the big bad over there for the majority of 2025, and his dominancy is there. That would work.
I would be fine with that. Well, do you think that they would put him in the cup then, since he did the
Yes.
G1? Do you think they'd put him in the New Japan Cup?
Absolutely.
He would have to. I would say he would have to drop that international title. But I guess if he's defending it in New Japan too,
he doesn't have to do anything. If he's in New Japan, the priority will be them and him holding the never openweight title. And so,
and so it would make sense to put the never title on him if he's going to be in Japan. If
he's already going to be protected regardless of the
if he's going to be if he's going to be there in a good chunk of the year, and he's still doing, it sounds like he's still doing DDT as well, then I would put the never title on him, and I would let him stay in Japan.
Build him up, and like you said, legitimate world title challenger for 2025.
Yeah, I like that. I like that plan.
So the next match after that is one that we have a graphic for, Jeremy. I know you do. It's the junior heavyweight title match. Now, the graphic that we have for it is courtesy of the New Japan bodybuilding contest that goes every year around Christmas. So everybody just have your cold water ready.
Currently go vote now if you can about the concourse.
Yes, but we have Doki and Desperado, and I'm not sure how seriously Desperado's taking this exactly, but Doki won the contest last year.
It looks like Desperado's taking this very seriously.
Captain Americano.
If you have not seen this, folks, for the people that are listening to this later as a podcast,
not safe for life.
words cannot get this across. But Desperado is wearing a one-piece thong American flag outfit for his pose down. But yeah, and
also got like a swimsuit on.
Yeah, it looks like a swimsuit. Anyway, we also have Saya Ida is also from Stardom is in the bodybuilding contest, and I don't think I think she's doing pretty well in it. My guess would be she's going to get some votes.
Good for her. I saw that.
She's ripped.
Incredible.
Tanahashi, Hanma, Wato, Desperado, Satoshi Kojima, Bolton Oleg. Is that Daiki Nagai?
Well, for left to right, we have Shomakato, Katsuya Murashima, and then Daiki Nagai.
Daiki Nagai, Kevin Knight, Doki, Court Connors, Drilla Maloney, Jacob Austin Young. Looked like Robbie Eagles.
Yeah, who did better than I thought he would. That's an impressive showing from Robbie.
What was the name of the woman there, Sam?
That's Saida.
Saida, and then Dragon Kid.
Yeah. So there you go. All right. But anyway, the main thing is the match is going to be with Doki and El Desperado at the Tokyo Dome, which should be just a fantastic match. A lot of back history between the two of them. And I have no doubt that these two are going to work very, very hard here. So I think this would just be a fabulous match. It's another one that could go either way. If you want to crown Doki, I feel like this is more of a course correction because Desperado... the reason the belt's on Doki is because Desperado had to take some time off to get his knee worked on. I feel like this could very well be a course correction where Desperado gets the belt back that he was supposed to have through most of 2024. But
I secretly want to suplex De La Luna on Desperado. That is my Sam. The suplex De La Luna by Doki is legitimately my favorite move in pro wrestling. It is a beautiful finisher.
Yeah.
Yes. That's a good one.
Yeah.
All right. What else we got?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Sam.
I was just going to say this match, I think, like you said, it'll be great. It is one that could go either way. I think you're correct. I think Despy is going to get this title because it was supposed to be his. And I think that hopefully he's going to stay healthy enough to get that run this year or in 2025. But it'll be fantastic.
I think Doki retains.
Okay.
Going with it.
The key to me on this one is if this match is as good as we think it's going to be, and again, I'm very confident in it, then Doki has secured his spot in the main event mix, which is healthy for New Japan. To have someone who is absolutely, you can put him right into a title match, and there's no doubts, there's no underdog thing. It's just, Doki's the number one contender, and he's in a big match, and it works. And that's what they need more of, more new guys in those positions. And
I think you guys are desperately overlooking the idea that Wato turns on Desperado.
That could happen. Yeah, I mean, there's always stuff like that.
It's there. I can see it. Wato's a little darker.
That could happen. That could happen at Dash too. We got a New Year's Dash mystery vortex to deal with. So there's all kinds. They have plans for that too, I'm sure. So. Yeah, and then after this one, we'll move on, and the Kingdom card. Now we're on to the global title match, and that's the one that we discussed a little bit earlier, Yota Tsuji and David Finlay. And there are several factors at this in play, some of which are in the show and non-canon. Some of the stuff's behind the scenes. Remember how a lot of these guys are on one-year contracts, and you would only want to keep this thing on Finlay if you're absolutely sure he's staying. You do not want a repeat of the Tama Tonga situation. So if Finlay is signed for another year, then okay, you can go either way with it. Again, it might be time to get if Zack's winning the main event, they don't like to have too many foreigners winning their matches. If you look back historically, I know Tanahashi's president now, blah, 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 but this is a conservative organization traditionally. They don't like to have too many foreigners win out. The main story of Japanese pro wrestling all the way to the beginning is the native stars trying to fend off foreign heels. This is a classic case of it right here. You could put this title on Tsuji to establish him as very close to that main event spot. Maybe not the IWGP champion, but if you get him a run for the global title, especially if you're not sure Finlay's staying, might be time to do the switch. I would not have any problem with Finlay holding on to this title if you're going to keep Finlay, if he's going to hang on. But there are factors involved here. They really need to protect themselves from the situation they found themselves in last year. And so to me, that plants the biggest seed of doubt in the whole thing. Remember, he's got a kid, a new kid at home, less than a year old, back in Atlanta. So some United States money might not look too terrible to Finlay right now, and the lighter travel schedule. If he's staying, though, it's okay to keep it on him because Finlay's been an excellent champion, and this has done well to establish him as the leader of the Bullet Club. And it's always important for New Japan to have the leader of the Bullet Club be over. Makes this match really intriguing to me because I can talk myself into either guy depending on what mood I'm in.
Right.
Sam, where are you leaning right now?
I mean, you make a really good point about not wanting, with Finley and ZSJ, and I don't see ZSJ losing his title yet. To me, I would put it on Tsuji just because I think that Tsuji is ready for it. I think this is how you kind of reward him for the year that he's had. And you don't want to repeat unless you know for sure, like if they go into this match and David Finley has re-signed a contract or has, told Tana, hey, I'm staying, let's work this out, then they keep the title on him. If he's staying, I don't have any issue with him retaining that title and figuring out what the Bullet Club story is in 2025. But Tsuji has more proven himself, and I think that Tsuji is a guy that he is, in a few years, he will be the guy, I feel like. I feel like they're trying to get him to that. And so this is a good way to do that by establishing, and, Finley has done a great job with this title, and Tsuji being the next champion, I think only legitimizes that title even more. But I agree with you. I mean, there's so many factors. It could go either way. I could see Finley retaining. If Finley is staying, I think he retains. If they're unsure or if he is unsure, then Tsuji gets the title. And then, but how long? I mean, do you only have him hold it temporarily until, they figure out what comes next if Finley is? Because I guess it depends on how much limbo they're in with Finley. But if there's any doubt that Finley could leave, then you take the title off Finley until you figure it out. And then if he re-signs and he stays, then you can run that match back later and perhaps rebuild him at a later time.
And Finlay is not a bad choice to lose the global title here and then go after the world title. He can beat Brody King at Wrestle Dynasty and then get on the microphone and just say, Zach, sleep with one eye open. That would that he absolutely could, and that would work.
Yeah,
that would work. Zach is one of those rare foreigners who's a babyface. It's more common than it used to be, but he is. So, and Brad mentioned something. Is Tsuji calling out Okada just him doing his own thing, or do you think they're planting seeds for a future match? And my thought on this is Yota Tsuji is planting seeds for a future match. I don't know if New Japan but
Tsuji's going into business for himself, 1,000%.
I think so too. I think Okan tried and failed, and I think Tsuji is trying like hell. But yeah, Tsuji's been on Okada's ass from the very beginning, because when everybody else was in tears, like, thank you, Okada, he was all just like, piss off. So you're a wiener for leaving.
My instinct right now is that New Japan needs strong, dominant heels. And Finley is a strong, dominant heel. I think he beat Yota Tsuji. I think he beats Brody King. I think he is dominant.
He definitely beats Brody King.
I think he beats both of them.
I mean, Brody's going to have a good match with him, but Finley's got.
I think there's a lot of meat
on the 4th.
Yes, I think there's a lot of meat to the bone. Like I said earlier, if Yota Tsuji loses and then beats Jack Perry, like, he can lose and then get it all back by beating Jack Perry the next night. He could win both nights and beat Jack Perry, but I could see Yota Tsuji losing because he's going to win the next night.
Yeah, that's
I can see that.
I mean, like I said, I can talk myself into either direction. I can really talk.
Because I mean, if you look at the Pokemon, it's like David Finley is the more evolved Pokemon of Jack Perry in a lot of ways, so he should be able to beat the lesser version.
The more frustrating thing for me is that there's such a huge factor that we don't know about, and that's the contract negotiation. So
I think David Finley.
When is this contract supposed to be up?
They're all January.
Most foreigners are the end of January.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
I think a lot of those.
Because then unless you have him lose it going into, I was gonna say, unless you have him lose it like at the New Beginning show, if he's not, like, you could have him retain here, and then if he's not signing, then he'd have to drop it. Like, I feel like Finley is not gonna pull a Tama Tonga. Like, I feel like Finley would. I feel like if he had the title and was going to leave, he would vacate the title. Like, I don't think he would just show up wherever.
The reality is this: the main event scene and upper scene of pro wrestling in the States is completely bloated. There's no room for a guy like Jay White right now. He's just going to be in the mix. Right now, the best place for David Finley to be making a name for himself is top of the card in New Japan, where he's got very little competition for someone taking his spot at the level that it would be
I mean,
in
that's a good point.
AEW or WWE.
Yeah, it's possible. I'm just saying. Also, a guy with a new baby that might not want to spend half the year and across the world from it either. And then Venkan asks, I have an interesting question. Okay, if you get injured as a foreigner, will New Japan extend your contract for injury time?
No.
Yeah, I'm not aware of that happening. That seems to be a very American thing to screw you over like that.
That is a competitive advantage that people do.
No one screws their employees like Americans, by crikey. That's
they also, like New Japan also doesn't really cover your health insurance as well. Like a guy like Callum Newman is going to be in really rough shape. So like you're going over there to fill dates. You are literally a contracted, like an independent contractor when you go to New Japan. The rules are different than AEW.
Yeah, because isn't that part of the reason? Like, because Mark Davis was injured.
Yeah. Sorry.
Oh.
Esteban has corrected me, but there have been instances in the past, like Mark Davis, that Tony Khan stepped in.
He signed with AEW so he could have not just so, but that was part of the outcome if you cover my surgery, or it was if you come here I'll cover your surgery, however that went, but that was part of the deal.
Okay,
depending on the contract. Okay. So
that's
because we don't know the details of some of the people who got hurt like Henare and Newman, I'm going to refrain from making any other assumptions, but based off of what I did think at that point before being corrected, injuries in New Japan are handled differently than they are in the States. Yeah. And I don't think that injury time is something that they take on.
Yeah. And then, of course, the main event. We've talked about Naito and Hiromu. So the main event, Shota Umino challenging Zack Sabre Jr. for the IWGP World Heavyweight title. And, Sam, this is where Jeremy and I both agree. And we talked to some of the guys when we work stiff. And, what we're thinking is this is the classic Japanese trope, and it happens in other parts of pro wrestling too, but the classic one where a guy gets to the peak and he has that one last big loss before the big win. It's rare. It has happened, but it's rare for Japanese wrestling to shoot a guy out of a cannon and for the guy to get an uninterrupted run all the way to the top. That very rarely happens with Japanese talent. They'll do it with foreigners to launch them into the main event picture.
Sure.
But with the Japanese guys, the whole thing is that warrior spirit of getting knocked down and getting back up. That'll often get a guy over more than if you just shoot him straight through. In Japanese wrestling, we think that this is Shota Umino's moment where he comes within an inch and he's in with a perfect guy to make it look like he is within an inch of this title. And to have it end in tears with Shota Umino going into his match at Wrestle Dynasty and maybe coming out of it just saying, I never want to feel that way again, and I never will. Like now I am, next time I'm in the Tokyo Dome main event, I'm winning the bastard. That's our theory on this. What's yours? I mean, I know you've been watching Zack Sabre Jr. just as long as we have. This guy's probably the best in the world right now, with all due respect to a lot of guys who are in that conversation.
No, I would agree with that. I think that is a very fair statement. He is my wrestler 2024. But I just think I feel like it's too soon to take the title off of him. Like he just like this whole year was building the Summer of Sabre. He wins the G1, like he does all of these things. Then he finally beats Naito to win the title. And of course it would have been nice for it to happen at Wrestle Kingdom for that to happen, but I don't think Naito his eyes even could have helped. I think they did the right thing by having him win it when he did. I would like to see Zack have a nice long run. I know they kind of do, depending on, it's been, Okada obviously held the title for a very long time. And they don't seem, unless I could be forgetting, they don't seem to do that as often now. I'd like to see. I think Shooter is great. I really like him, but I feel the same way that they let him get really close, and Zack is the guy to make him look like $1 million and to make him look like he could potentially win. And then Zack being Zack will find a way to win he always does. And I feel like Zack holds that title for a while, and then it sets Shooter on into 2025, sets him on this new path to, like you said, never feel that way again. And he is going to do everything he can to become champion. And so, yeah, I agree with you guys. I think that's where this is going.
Yeah.
You think, Sam, do you think it's important that Shota Umino beats Jon Moxley before he wins the IWGP title?
Yeah. I think for him and the story that he is telling, I feel like Jon Moxley, he has to kind of prove himself, because, like, especially here, like, okay, so he loses to, like, if you're losing to Zack here, then the next thing is, okay, what do I have to do to get back on track? I have to beat my mentor. I don't like what Jon Moxley has become. I don't like what he's doing. I have to once, I have to beat him to get back on track, to even get anywhere near the title again. I have to beat this mentor. Like, yeah, definitely exercise.
Moxley showed up Forbidden Door.
Maybe so. Question here, and I don't know if you know the answer to this, Sam, but I'm going to ask you anyway. Is Moxley scheduled for Collision on the 4th? Asking for a reason. You know?
As far as I have seen, I have not seen. I didn't get to finish Dynamite last night because I got to it late, and I haven't. And I know Rampage was obviously already taped because it's the last Rampage for the foreseeable future. So I have not seen a Collision card yet. So to my understanding, he's not on that card as far as I know.
I think Mox is crazy enough. Mox is crazy enough to fly to Tokyo for a run-in. I'm just saying.
If he's on Dynamite, you need to temper your expectations.
Well, I don't know. That's a Wednesday. I'm flying out.
Just temper your expectations.
I'm flying out on Wednesday and getting there on the 2nd.
So we are recording on the 2nd here, and we might have a guest. It'll be the 3rd over there for you, and you'll be.
Yeah, it'll be in the morning of the 3rd. Yeah.
Great.
I'll be there. That's just my theory that, this Claudio thing at Wrestle Dynasty seems primed to set Shota on the path to get to Moxley. So it seems like his next story after not winning the title is there for him. I had the feeling that, this whole thing is like he wants Moxley. Moxley won't give him the match.
This could be a Forbidden Door match if they do Moxley and Shota could be.
Yeah, they could. But I also think it's interesting that if Shota were to beat Claudio, that Moxley actually just runs in on him and leaves him laying right there.
Or it gets his attention. Yeah. That's true too. But I was gonna say, or it gets Moxley's attention to be like, hey, you don't forget about me. I'm still here. So it could be.
Moxley's into this. Moxley's into this Shota Umino thing. I mean, just on personally, like Moxley really does like him, and he's excited about doing this. So I could, and he's crazy enough to fly across the world to just.
Yeah, and by the time they get, the only thing is, if they do Shooter versus Mox, when I guess Mox, he doesn't have to have a title, and I guess he wouldn't put a world title up against him. And if they do later in the year, I don't see Mox losing that title anytime soon. I think he'll hold on to it a little bit further, but by the time we get to Forbidden Door, which again is not until August, Moxley will probably not have that title. And so, he could do that too. Yeah, I consider the G1. So, yeah, I think.
No, I mean, I'm saying Forbidden Door after the G1 this year. It's immediately.
Oh, right. Right. Yeah.
A lot of that stuff can be set up beforehand, but you'd also.
Shota Umino wins the G1 and has to put the shot on the line against his mentor. That ain't bad.
Wow, you're booking this out in advance, aren't you?
I'm having a good time. I'm enjoying myself. I don't know if any of it's right, but I'm enjoying the hell of it. So, yeah.
Breathing a lot of that O2 in that O2 arena.
Yeah. So all right. So I'm going to go over. We're going to go a little bit long. We're having a good time. But Wrestle Dynasty. Here's some stuff we haven't talked. Now we mentioned that the Momo Watanabe, Persephone, Willow Nightingale, and Athena are going to be in on the pre-show. I know the International Women's Cup 4-way match. I would rather see that higher up as well. But it is what it is. That's where they're putting it. And my first instinct, we're in Japan. The winner gets a match against any company's champion you want, and there is a Mercedes Moné Mina Shirakawa match later, leaning toward either Athena or Momo Watanabe. I feel like Willow and Persephone are probably the underdogs here, but you could talk me into Momo Watanabe against anybody. She's one of the very best. Athena is one of the very best. So, I'd be happy with either one of those. Persephone would really surprise me. Willow Nightingale would really surprise me. Not that Willow isn't talented, but when you have Athena and Momo there for a big match down the road with a champion, that's kind of where I feel like it's going.
Well, and if they're going to be setting up Athena to eventually drop that ROH title and move to AEW, where she's going to be featured more prominently in the women's division, hopefully that's what they're doing. You would want her to have a big moment, and and of course, because I've gone back and forth with this. Like, I feel like whoever wins this will probably challenge Mercedes following her match later in the card, because I assume Mercedes is retaining her title and she will have the Rev Pro title, and then she'll be 3 belts Monet and that whole deal. So they've been planting the seeds for Athena and Mercedes for the TBS championship. However, I think that New Japan and CMLL and Stardom don't want to be involved in an AEW storyline where you're setting up Athena to challenge Mercedes when she could do that later on down the road. But it would be huge for Athena this is what she's been wanting. She has sent in scrums. She has looked at Tony and said, I want to go to Japan. If you were not going to send me there, bring me the best. And he did for a little bit. He did a couple times, and that was it. And so now she got announced. It was announced yesterday that she's going to be or on Christmas Eve, it was announced that she's going to be in Stardom. She's got a tag match. So Athena, they're going to want to build her strong. That's obviously why they kept the ROH title on her. I just keep coming back to, like, they're not going to want an AEW storyline playing out and being built up on this card, like you would think. So I could see maybe maybe she gets this. And also, if you go with Willow has lost to Mercedes multiple times. She's lost, and so like that's another story. But that's again an AEW storyline, and I feel like the smart thing would be to let them do that on their own, and to kind of have Athena win and have her challenge somebody in Stardom, because she's already going to to Stardom. So maybe Athena wins and challenges for CMLL or Stardom, and just doesn't challenge Mercedes at all. But I kind of feel like Mercedes is gonna get challenged at this show.
And the match we're talking about here is Mina Shirakawa and Mercedes Moné for both the Rev Pro Women's title and the NJPW Strong Women's Championship. Both those titles are going to be on the line in that match. The question the question is, what show are we setting up with this match, this International Women's Cup 4-way match? What show are we setting up? Because is it a big Stardom show? Because Stardom has begun doing a show in Yokohama in the spring that they take very seriously and have booked big arenas for and make it into a super card. So they've had Mercedes come over for that in the past. Do they want Mercedes or Mina to defend against Momo on that one, for instance? Or are we looking at something else where Athena would be a smarter choice? There's just All-Star Grand Queendom is the name of the show that they do in Yokohama in the spring. That could be what they're trying to set up. We don't know that, but there's no question that what show they're actually setting up is the major factor in who wins this. Because if it's a major show for Stardom, then Momo makes the most sense. If it's something else, then maybe Athena would be the choice.
I got a question with prognosticating the winner here.
Mm-hmm.
Are we sure Mercedes is winning that match?
Yes.
No. Oh, you are? Okay.
I feel like I feel like for what they're doing right now, I feel I think
she's a heavy favorite. I would say she's a heavy favorite.
I think it's interesting that the Rev Pro title's on the line. I have a lot of eyebrow raising whether Mercedes is going to be going to the UK to defend that Rev Pro title. Although if you wanted to do the belt collector gimmick on her, sure, fine, whatever. Like, it doesn't matter to me. But the Rev Pro thing is the eyebrow raise.
It doesn't make less sense for her to be the Rev Pro champion than it does for Mina Shirakawa to be.
Okay. I just think Mina Shirakawa's schedule is a lot more available for her to defend at Rev Pro, then say Mercedes.
But again, we talked about David Finlay. Like, where is Mina Shirakawa going to be wrestling in 2025? That's who is her?
Right. Tony has hinted heavily that she will be in AEW as much as possible in 2025.
I believe that AEW has some dates on her, like contracted dates. That's my understanding.
Okay, and then we have this one for USVA. For every match of Wrestle Dynasty, never underestimate the power Rocky Romero holds, never underestimate his loyalty to AEW, and never underestimate New Japan's willingness to capitulate to Tony Khan.
What a loaded statement that was.
Yeah, I know. But we'll have to see how it turns out. But yeah. And Brad's mentioned, does Mercedes lose the TBS title to Statlander?
No, I don't think so.
No,
because they've been planting the seeds for Athena versus Mercedes for the TBS championship at all in Athena's home state. I think that's the story. I don't think
TBS.
Championship.
So Mercedes, if she were to lose the title, it looks weird for her to be standing in the ring victorious and somebody else comes and goes, "Hey, I'm coming for your other title that you didn't lose." So I get that. But
yeah, she's not. I think she's going into the Tokyo Dome with 2 titles.
But let me
and leaving with 3.
Let me ask you this: if Mercedes were to have lost, do you think that Tony Khan would rather have Athena show up on AEW Dynamite after winning and then challenging there to maximize the viewership investment rather than the show that he hasn't really pushed? He hasn't really done a whole lot, and for the sickos watching it, they'll appreciate it. But say the people watching Dynamite wouldn't have any idea what was going on unless Athena showed up on Dynamite and staked her claim there.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like she is gonna. I think at some point that's what's happening. Athena is gonna show up on Dynamite and stake her claim, and we're getting this feud. But also now Red Velvet, who is the ROH Women's TV champion, she has also thrown her. She's also said at the media scrum last week she wants Mercedes. So I could, if Mercedes is doing belt collector stuff there, perhaps she takes the women's TV title. I don't think she takes and that's the thing. Do they do title versus title? Do they have Athena hold on to this title and take that into All In potentially with Mercedes? I mean, there's so many different factors that they could do. So it depends. If they're doing belt collector Mercedes, then I could see her getting an ROH title in there too, having the UK title. Mm-hmm. They could do, because wasn't it Nina? It was Nina Samuels, right? That just had wasn't it her that she just had the 10 titles last year? I believe that's who it was.
Right.
That they did that. So I could see them kind of doing that same thing with Mercedes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think either way, I think that'll be Mina and Mercedes. I think will be a terrific match, and then this 4-way has a lot of potential to be terrific too. So I think they're going to have 2 really strong women's matches on this Dynasty card.
We gotta do lightning round for about 5 minutes. I'm getting the hook from the family.
Well, there's not a whole lot more because a lot of the matches just kind of depend on what happens at Kingdom. So we can go through those. I mean, again, we talk about Ricochet and Zack Sabre Jr. For the IWGP title. If Zack still has it, again, the storylines seem to indicate that he will. Shota has something for Dynasty that's going to matter. The Claudio Castagnoli thing leading to Moxley. So it feels like that'll be a world title match. It'll probably be a really good match and another one that Zack can win. I can't really see a world in which Ricochet wins that match with Zack.
They're trying to make you believe it. Based with all the AEW Dynamite stuff, they're building him up. I am not convinced.
Yeah. And then the other thing we have, of course, David Finlay's going to wrestle Brody King if he holds on to the title. That's a title match. Yota Tsuji's match against Jack Perry becomes a title match if he wins the global title. And
also, Jack Perry, even with Jack Perry, I don't know when it will happen. They have been hinting at Jack Perry leaving the Elite and going to Death Riders. Yeah. So when that happens, this has happened. Television is great. Yeah. Well, no, no. What I'm saying is, so I don't know if this happens at World's End. So he goes into this pay-per-view now as a member of Death Riders, or if he will still be a member of the Elite. That's all I'm saying.
Gotcha.
So why would he? When did they hint that he would join the Death Riders? Was that?
They've been kind of hinting it. And then that happened with the Young Bucks when they came out. They showed up at the New Japan show, and
he
was like, "Where and they did there was an interview afterwards, and he was clearly annoyed with him. And he was like, "Well, since you left me, I got tied to the front of the van, and I lost my title. Where have you been?"
I just didn't see where the Death Riders came into it.
Oh no, I think that's where they've been leading this whole. I feel like that's
where they've been
going this whole time. I think Jack is leaving the Elite to join Death Riders, and I think the Young Bucks.
I think he's just going to go find the House of Torture, which is a true loyal faction.
Well, please. I mean, he could do that too. I don't really care where. I have mixed feelings about Jack. How I feel about Jack Perry, and so I just am throwing that out there. Could that factor in if he's a Death Rider? By the time we get to this match, is he a Death Rider? Will that play into anything he does? But then again, like you said, I wasn't thinking about the House of Torture thing there, which I usually am with him, but I forgot about that. So that may not matter at all.
Just a torture soul. That's all there is to it.
So the other thing we should cover here before we wrap this one up, though, is Kenny Omega is returning, and he's going to be back here against Gabe Kidd, which is a very interesting match. It was brought up that Gabe actually signed through the rest of the year. So see, boys, you sign long term, you get the big match. But I'm excited about this. Of course, they did a rather funny bit where they shadowed the whole CM Punk Jack Perry thing with the backstage footage of Kenny Omega and Gabe Kidd a little bit. But either way, I'm excited just to have Kenny Omega back. Certainly excited to have him back in a New Japan ring. What are your thoughts on this and Kenny's direction going forward, Sam?
I feel like they've been hinting that Kenny's coming back to AEW. I feel like he's showing up at World's End. It's gonna end with the stare down with Jon Moxley. Pay-per-view is gonna go off the air. I feel like Kenny is beating Gabe Kidd. I think he's gonna take this title. I could see him defending it. Well, and that's the thing. The strong shows, depending on, there's that gap where there's not a strong show. The strong shows aren't happening in the U.S.
Gabe's title not listed as being on the line.
Oh, it's not on the line.
It's not on the line.
Regardless, I think Kenny is winning.
Yeah,
I'm not. Yeah. I'm not a Gabe Kidd fan, personally or in the ring. I'm not a fan of his. Sure. So I'm annoyed that this is Kenny's first match back, just because I don't like Gabe Kidd. However, especially with the promo that Kenny cut on him in Japanese, he really it was a typical Kenny Omega promo, especially a New Japan Kenny promo. I think Kenny is gonna. I think Gabe will look good here. I think Kenny will do a lot for him. But I feel like regardless of that title's on the line or not, I think Kenny wins, and then. Yeah. I would like to see him in New Japan more. Apparently, I know some people they're big mad that his first match back is going to be in New Japan and not in AEW, but it makes sense. No, it doesn't matter. It makes sense if this show is supposed to be what it is, where it's bringing together all these companies, then yes, it makes perfect sense to have Kenny Omega, who was hugely influential in New Japan for years, who is part of the reasons AEW started, then yes, it makes sense for him to be on the show and for his return to be here. And I think Kenny, so it'll be interesting looking forward. I think he will come face to face with Jon Moxley, and that's eventually his path for 2025 is saving AEW from Jon Moxley and the Death Riders.
Interesting.
Yeah, it is. And, the thing with this one, too, just briefly, this just feels like they put him in with somebody who is an unambiguous heel, so that the story could be as basic as good versus evil. Hey, this is a guy we love. He's back. He's against a guy we hate. He beats the guy we hate. And everybody leaves just going, yay, Kenny's back, and Gabe Kidd had to eat a loss. It's the most basic story there is of good guy, bad guy. And I think that's why Gabe's in the spot. He can put him over and be into, and hopefully Kenny's fine.
Gabe Kidd and Kenny Omega is going to be a fun one and done. I will be back actually on Saturday night to recap the Boom on the Boom to recap World's End. And I'm going to tell you right now what I think happened, Sam. I think Okada wins the C2 and Omega shows up to rekindle that feud after that. In addition, I think Moxley retained. I think Christian tries to cash in, and I think Adam Copeland stops the cash in, and then we go to Moxley and Adam Copeland at the next program for the AEW World Title.
Oh wow, that's a lot. I feel like Copeland is just coming at. I think he's coming at Fight for the Fallen because it's in his hometown, and he's coming to be with his friends FTR, and that's kind of what.
But you kind of know, but there's also that kind of.
Christian there is that. There. I mean, Christian is out there. I feel like I have heard. I don't know if this is true. I have heard that Christian won't cash in until Jon Moxley is no longer champion. It'll be after he's championed. But who knows? I also, you know what? I was gonna say something, but you know what? Just come Saturday at 1:00.
Saturday, Powerbombshells pre-show.
For the World's End pre-show, I will save that. I will save that for if you want to hear that thought, just come on Saturday at 1:00.
All right. So we're going to be wrapping this thing up here in just a moment. And I just want to say thanks to everybody for joining us here live. And I'm going to be on the wrap very soon. We did our year-end awards. So I'll be there with Scott and Keela doing that when that'll hit the podcast feed here pretty soon. So it's the busiest time of year for us. So we're everywhere. And I want to say a big thanks. Sam, we've been wanting to have you on the show for so long. So thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you for having me. Yes,
this is really cool.
We'll have you back soon.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes,
all right. So don't forget Powerbombshells before the big show, and that's on Saturday. You said, right?
Yes, at 1:00.
Saturday at 1:00.
Eastern.
All right. So for Sam with Powerbombshells, for Jeremy, and I am Steven with Speaking Strong Style. Thanks for joining us, and we will talk to you again real soon.